If you are feeling tight in the hips and it is costing you goals against, then stick with me for this 7-minute follow along hip mobility routine, and you are going to notice a difference from start to finish. So let's start by seeing how your hips feel right now. We'll do a little test, retest. Let's head to the lab. So let's start off by checking where your hip mobility is at right now. And we're not going to overcomplicate this. We don't need to measure it. You can just go by how you feel. Or if you want, set your phone up, go through these 3 movements, look at the positions, and then we'll do the 7-minute follow-along video, and then you can video again and see the side, compare the before and after. But keep it simple. So we're just going to do a little butterfly stretch, kind of paying attention. Hey, how far are my knees from the ground? You can even just use your thumb or finger or measuring stick. And then what does that feel like? Where do I feel tight? What does it feel like in my back? Just make a little mental note. The next one we'll do is we'll come into a forward bend, and then we'll come into a deep squat. What does that look like? What does that feel like? Again, where do you feel restricted? Maybe you can't even get down this far. So take a little mental note. How far down do I get? What does it feel like? And for the last one, we'll just plop down on our tummy. Make sure our knees are touching, and we'll just do a little hip internal rotation with our hips in a neutral position. So again, you can look at the angle that your shins make. Is that 60 degrees? Is it 90 degrees? How does it change from start to finish? Now, because you guys have asked, Oslo is upstairs playing with her Kong. If you hear, it sounds like our house is being destroyed. It's just my dog playing with her Kong. Because you guys have asked, we're going to do this video follow along style, which means I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time kind of teaching the technique, explaining exactly what we're working on, how we're improving things. I've done that other places. So we're going to do just a follow along style video. You hit play and we'll work through it. You will need a lacrosse ball or some sort of ball, a tennis ball, a golf ball, whatever you got, because we're going to start with a little self-myofascial release. The first thing we're going to get out with this little rascal is our upper glute. So not the part of the glutes that you typically do. A lot of you kind of typically roll this middle part. We're going to get more of this upper part. So I'm going to start the clock, and here we go. I'm back on my elbow so I can get that upper part of my glutes, almost where the top of my glutes comes into the top of my pelvis. We're going to do 30 seconds on each side. Switch sides. I'm kind of working my way from, my bum crack out towards my hip joint. The next one we're going to do is we're going to get this lacrosse ball on our TFL, which is a little hard to landmark. I've done other videos on it, but for this one, we're just going to lie on it and put pressure there. Just trying to sort of unlock some of those muscles and tissues around the hip that can get a little tight and gnarly, so we can kind of trick them into relaxing a little bit so we can get into the rest of the mobility routine. This one doesn't feel very nice. 30 seconds on each side. Good, switch sides. From there, we're getting into our 90-90 position. So knees at 90, hips at 90. And for the first one, I'm just going to come forward. Staying tall in my torso, coming forward over this leg. Now we'll go side bend over that back leg. That's going to get hip internal rotation. Trying to keep our nice 90-90. And we'll get the other way. And we'll get the hip internal rotators now. This one you'll feel kind of more deep in the hip. It doesn't sort of feel like the same type of stretch, more just kind of a tightness, and that's okay. Transitioning to a hip flexor with a rotation. So we're going to tuck our bum underneath. We're not going to get really long here. We're going to tuck in here, feel that stretch, and then we're going to rotate away from the leg that we're stretching. Then we'll get the other side, getting that stretch first, then rotating away. Good. And then for our last one, we're going to do an adductor rock back. So we're just here, sitting back in our hips, holding that for about 5 seconds, and coming forward. Seconds. And then we'll switch sides. So that brings us to the end of this 7-minute circuit for general hip mobility. So let's finish where we began. Let's do a little retest and see where we're at. So the first thing that we tested was just our little butterfly stretch. So we'll see again, hey, how does that feel? What does the range of motion look like? It's important that we increase the range of motion, but it's almost more important to me that it feels a little bit better, a little less restricted. For me, this feels, when I did it the first time, I really felt it quite a bit. Not sore or anything, but tension in my back. I feel a lot less tension in my back this time when I do it after even just that quick little mobility circuit. Let's see how our forward bend to deep squat feels. That feels a lot more comfortable to me in my hips. Now, for not everybody's going to feel, a dramatic change after doing it once for 7 minutes, but already that's loosened up my range of motion a bit. And then we'll finish with our prone hip internal rotation and see how that feels. Hard to tell. It feels like I'm getting further. I don't really know if I am, but feels pretty good to me. So the key point, you may or may not notice an improvement after doing this once for 7 minutes. I'm not a miracle worker. But the key point is, even if we do something as simple as this, so just open up your phone, go to this video, do this routine, even every other day. The goalies that I work with in Game Winning Goalie Formula, Turning Pro Coaching, we usually do mobility training 6 days a week. But even if you did this every other day, just for 7 minutes, consistently, you're going to see improvements. And more importantly than measuring improvements, you're going to feel improvements on the ice. You're just going to feel like, hey, my hips just kind of do what I want them to do. I don't feel as creaky or achy. And you know what? I don't know why, but I'm making a few saves that I wouldn't have made 2 weeks ago or a month ago. If you want a more detailed program that specifically targets giving you a wider butterfly flare, then check out the Butterfly Challenge. It's free. The link is in the description. Obviously, if you want my help with a done-for-you program, exactly what to do for all of your off-ice training, I'll drop those links in the description as well. But this should get you started. It doesn't have to take hours. You don't need a bunch of equipment. You just need to do it. You need to start, and then you need to do it consistently. So if you got any value out of this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And I will catch you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I love you guys.